A relationship with the right referral partner could be a game changer for any B2B company. So what if you could reverse engineer these relationships at a moment's notice? Start a podcast, invite potential referral partners to be guests on your show, and grow your referral network faster than ever. Learn more at sweetfishmedia.com.
You're listening to the B2B Growth Show, a podcast dedicated to helping B2B executives achieve explosive growth. Whether you're looking for techniques and strategies or tools and resources, you've come to the right place. I'm James Carberry.
And I'm Jonathan Green.
Let's get into the show. Welcome back to the B2B Growth Show. We are here today with Jeremy Wallace. He is the CMO at Unbounce. Jeremy, how you doing today?
Fantastic.
I am really excited to chat with you today, Jeremy. We're going to be talking about 5 specific ways to create more conversions. But before we do that, Jeremy, I'd love for you to explain to our listeners a little bit about Unbounce, because you are definitely the guy to be talking about conversions. And so I'm excited for you to share with our listeners what you and your team are up to over there.
Fantastic. Well, thank you for having me on the show today. Really excited about that. So Rick, our CEO, was really fortunate to work with a whole bunch of talented marketers early in his career. And the thing that kept coming through was to increase your campaign performance, have a dedicated landing page for it. But the frustration that Rick always had in marketing roles was really around the ability to get landing pages live. You'd get it designed up, and it would go into the dev IT prioritization cycle, and it would just take months before anything happened. And so campaigns were always launching without landing pages going live. And in 2009, he came together with 5 other friends, which became the 6 co-founders, to build Unbounce. And that's really where the initial foundation of Unbounce came from. So today, Unbounce is a landing page and conversion platform that allows marketers and agencies to build and test landing pages without developers. We've got over 14,000 customers. Some of them include companies like Vimeo, New York Times, Flight Center, Hootsuite, Shopify. So that's where we are today. And most recently, we just launched another part of our business, which is called Convertibles. And it's a marketing tool that allows marketers to capture more leads, sales, and signups by creating highly targeted overlays on their website. So we've got a product around landing pages and then one around convertibles, which allows you to convert more on every page of your website.
Awesome, Jeremy. So I want to dive in and really get to the meat of this episode with you, because I know you've got a lot of wisdom to share around conversions, and I know that the folks listening to this are super interested in how they can convert visitors into paying customers. So before we do that, Jeremy, we're obviously going to be talking about conversions for the rest of this interview. So I'd like to start with having you how do you define a conversion so folks will all be on the same page as we move throughout this interview?
Absolutely. So, really a conversion is whatever you decide it is. It could be submitting a form, downloading a piece of content, signing up for a free trial, or making a purchase. But the important thing is that it's the ultimate goal of your campaign or your marketing efforts. And every aspect of that marketing campaign and effort should be driving people towards that conversion goal. And we've been focused in the conversion space for 7.5 years now. And the thing about conversions is it's gaining a more and more important place every day in the marketplace. And we get this feedback from our customers, from agency partners that we work with. The reality is that digital marketing is getting more and more competitive on the traffic acquisition side. And if you can convert better once people are on your landing page or on your site, it's just tremendous in terms of the results that it drives for you in the business outcome and the ROI. If you can double your conversion rate, you double the efficiency of the campaign. You have to spend less money to drive the same amount of results. So that's really where conversions are important. It's really about driving more ROI through the middle part of that funnel, and it's often an overlooked area, to be honest. A lot of people just focus on top of funnel, when there's a huge, huge opportunity when you're looking at that middle of the funnel pre-conversion point to drive the benefit and the ROI for your business.
Yep. Nope. It makes perfect sense to me, Jeremy. So getting into, I said at the top of the episode, we're going to be talking about 5 specific ways to create more of these conversions. And the first one that we're going to talk about is having a dedicated landing page for every single one of your campaigns. Talk to us a bit about this.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, like we have a landing page tool. I'm a little bit biased, but the background behind it is, I want to be clear. I mean, the most fundamental principle of high performance marketing is that organic search traffic and campaign traffic are not the same thing, and they need to be handled differently. The goal of your website is to attract and convert organic search traffic from search engines, and campaigns, on the other hand, are specific initiatives that require specific landing pages. And making sure that those campaigns have landing pages that are tailored to them is really, really important. And we often see this, is that someone will generate a campaign, and it's a very targeted, specific campaign, and it just goes to a generic homepage, and visitors are lost. And then you wonder why they don't convert. It's like there's a complete mismatch of expectations there. If you're doing like PPC, Google AdWords, you know that the more closely matched the landing page is to your ad, the better it'll perform. I mean, Google rewards, this is tightly coupled. The higher your quality score, the lower cost per click, and that's really tied into having a dedicated landing page for each of the campaigns and being focused towards that.
Yeah, and from a measurement, from measuring the results on the back end of it, having a dedicated landing page obviously tells you whether or not did we drive the amount of traffic that we wanted to this particular campaign, as opposed to jumbling it all up into your website where you're getting traffic sources from a variety of different things that you're doing from a marketing standpoint. So it makes perfect sense to me why having a dedicated landing page for every single campaign is going to increase your conversions.
Absolutely. Even before we go on there, I mean, we have a really super simple and easy to remember acronym that we use internally, and that's NSAMWDLP coupled, and I'll spell it out for you. It's NSAMCWDLP. And what that means is never start a marketing campaign without a dedicated landing page.
Love it. I love it. I'm going to be...
if you remember one thing, remember that.
If I remember one thing, yeah, that is going to be the thing I take away from this. So thank you for that little tidbit. So Jeremy, this second one that we're going to talk about is having a call to action on each one of your pages. Talk to us about the importance of this.
Yeah, I mean, really, every page on your website has a purpose, and that might be to answer a question, it might be to describe a feature, it might be to ask someone to sign up and pay for something. The problem is that so many pages on people's websites don't specifically ask you to do anything. And so you want to have every single page on your website, you want to have a focused outcome that you're driving users toward and supporting them through the process. You want to be careful on both sides of it. I mean, I see this on both extremes. Often a page won't have any calls to action on it, or the opposite can be true and it'll have like 17 calls to action on it. And when you have that, it's like that's going to not be relevant either.
I see this. I see marketers doing the same thing in their emails as well. In having multiple calls to action in your emails makes it tough for people to know what you actually want them to do, and so the same is obviously true on pages on your website. If you don't have a crisp and clear call to action, what do you want someone to do on this specific page? Instead of trying to stuff all of them into one, which I guess makes sense from the standpoint of like, oh, we want them to do something, so we're just going to give them all these options. But the reality is that's just going to keep people from doing anything. Exactly.
I mean, do these 17 simple things, users end up doing none of them. And I mean, the ironic thing is, like, we are a company Unbounce is a company that is 100% focused on conversion, and yet, we're still guilty of this at times. Like a case in point is recently, or a year ago, we had a page that ranked number 1 on Google for the question, what is a landing page? And it was nothing more than information. And after looking at Google Analytics and seeing how much traffic was getting and realizing that there was a massive opportunity here, we actually took the step. We said, you know what? We know that visitors, when they go to our landing page template section, are much more likely to convert and become a better customer. So maybe these people that are coming to what is a landing page, let's do a CTA for them that says, hey, would you like to look at some templates of landing pages as well and get some more insight and inspiration? And the result was that we got a 192% increase in the number of visitors getting to the template section from the page, right? So
that's incredible.
Yeah,
that's a fantastic story behind why every single one of your pages. How did you guys? Was it kind of during an audit that you guys realized that this page was getting so much traffic?
To be honest, it was one team member sort of looking through some data and discovering the shameful moment. And, we're not perfect either. Like, we'll make mistakes as well on things and learn from it. But the thing I'd recommend for your listeners is spend some time in Google Analytics and look at the 20 pages that have the highest traffic on your website and see how many of them are missing a CTA. Just list it out and then add a relevant CTA to each of those pages. Start with the most valuable ones. Doing that will really help you drive more conversions. And if you're having trouble on those specific pages, editing the page or knowing which direction to go, I mean, that's one of the reasons why we launched Unbounce Convertibles is it gives you an easy way to put a call to action on every one of those pages. And that can be, for a sign up, for a sale, or for directing traffic to a relevant resource around that. But the key is making sure that every single one of your pages has a CTA on it.
Yeah, no, I love it. So this next one is really interesting to me, Jeremy. It's something that I've recently started playing around with, and it's using your confirmation pages to drive secondary conversions. Can you talk to us about what you guys have done here and maybe some stories of brands that you've seen doing this well?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the confirmation page is just a great time. I mean, a user has gone through the process, they've done some research, and they've made the decision to move forward with you. And at that point in time, they've already got a positive momentum, and you can just ask them to go a little bit further and keep deepening that relationship and get a really great outcome from it. But so often, I see it, and it makes me cry when I see it. It's like you go to the confirmation stage, and it's a white screen with the block letters that says, "Thank you." Yep. At that point, you've got opportunity. Maybe it's like, hey, purchase a similar product, download a free white paper, follow us on social and Twitter, Facebook, or here's some other content that's going to be related to the steps that you were at, what you were looking at before. Go check this out. And you can just really help deepen that customer relationship at that point and work towards driving, an additional conversion.
Yep. We did something with a summit that we just produced, and so we had around 850 folks register for this thing, and the thank you page that we used drove people to subscribe to our podcast. And so obviously we know that it's a podcast that we put out daily, and it's a great way to build trust with folks that have already signed up for they've already signed up for our email list because they've registered for the virtual event, but getting our podcast in their ears day after day is a great way for us to continue on with that relationship beyond the virtual summit that they signed up for. So that's one particular way that we've used it, and I think it's been really impactful. I've seen our download numbers increase since the event. So I am wholeheartedly on the same page with you on that.
And it's simple to do. Just look at the confirmation pages you've got and ask yourself, a user at this stage, what would you love them to do next, and what would they love to do next, and see if you can put that pairing together.
Yep. And there's no harm in A/B testing and seeing which one converts better, and maybe
absolutely
becoming a Twitter follower is maybe you get more clicks on that than you would clicks to folks subscribing to your podcast, and so there's no reason you can't test that and go from there. So this fourth one, Jeremy, is asking your customers questions. Unpack this one for us.
Yeah. So the thing that I find in digital marketing time and time again is when you're talking to marketers, I mean, they're often, and myself included, I mean, you're looking at all these different data points. You're looking at your charts of your traffic, your users, what's happening here and there. And it's really, really easy to just look at these as points of data, when the reality is that underneath every single one of those points of data is a person with an understanding, a misunderstanding, a bias, or something along those lines. And if you're looking at driving conversion, it's all around, the most important thing you can do is understand that user that you have and understand, what they're struggling with, what's holding them back in different directions. And it seems really obvious, but you just can ask those visitors questions. And that might just be a quick survey on the site. There's lots of tools for this, but the insight that you gain from that is really profound, and it helps you tailor your future messaging, identify things that are missing. It has just a tremendous impact.
And so are there particular tools that you guys use? Is this something Unbounce does that allows you to, does this usually flesh itself out in the form of like some sort of a chat being on each page, or how does practically, how do you go about asking people questions that are landing on your pages and maybe not converting?
Yeah, so there's two components. There's like how do you actually make it happen from a technological standpoint, and then what are the right questions and the right types of questions to be asking. So, from a technological standpoint, there's things like Qualaroo and Hotjar. From an Unbounce standpoint, you can certainly do it with convertibles as well, just by giving people, a text box to answer a question around it. There's the technology component, but then the other really important component with it is asking the right questions. And there's a couple things there. Number one, free-form questions, so that users can really write in their own words is important. And then the second thing is the types of questions that I often like to ask is, are there any unanswered questions preventing you from signing up? Is there anything that you feel is missing? Is there anything holding you back here? And then I'd like to add a little disclaimer on the back of it, which is, please be brutally honest with your feedback. And that's giving the user permission to be brutally honest. And that's what you want. And then you take all that free-form information and you look through it, and trends will often just, really surface to the top. And then with that, it's, the solution is just what were the users stuck on and how do you work to resolve that?
No, that's fantastic. This last one that I want to talk to you about, Jeremy, is something you've alluded to earlier in the interview, but it's adding a hyper-targeted overlay to your website. Explain to us what this means.
Yeah, so, really this is about converting more on every page of your site. And the truth is your website might not be equipped to convert all your visitors. And, overlays are a quick and dirty way to add conversion opportunities to any web page, and you can launch them pretty effortlessly. So there's a whole bunch of different ways that you can use the overlays. Like one tactical example is, if you have a blog, you can look on that blog as people are reading content and then present an overlay once they've engaged a couple sessions of a couple pages of the content or a couple sessions, and ask people to, become a blog subscriber. Sidebar blog subscriptions are often overlooked, but the nice thing about an overlay is that it really drives focus to a singular offer.
And when you say overlay, Jeremy, is that a more appealing term than pop-up, or is it something totally different?
It is different, but they're related, and there's a lot of misunderstanding in the marketplace around this. Pop-ups are often associated with, the early 2000s. An overlay is different in that it doesn't hijack control of the browser, it doesn't open a new window, it doesn't contain its own navigation, and they're controlled by the site owner, not a third-party advertiser. So pop-ups, the negativity associated with pop-ups is typically because it's associated with a third-party advertiser trying to bring you to a different experience, whereas overlays are driven by the site owner and trying to just optimize the experience within their own site.
Got it.
And so that's the first part of overlays, but the really important part of it is making sure that you've got targeting that's going to be respectful of your visitors. So it's targeting things like on browser history, on traffic source, on location, on cookies, like whether someone is already signed up to your newsletter or not. Like if someone's already signed up for your newsletter, you don't want to be giving them an overlay that says sign up for my newsletter. Like that frustrates people. So it's really tying that in with, or different traffic sources as well. It's tying in the specifics of understanding that user and that user segment and providing them with value at that time. And to be honest, like we've used this on a lot of our own, we eat our own dog food. We've used this on a lot of our own campaigns and properties. And the results that we've achieved from it surprise even us at times.
That's really cool. So Jeremy, this has been fantastic. I really appreciate you sharing all this with us. If there's somebody listening to this, maybe they want to connect with you further on this stuff. How do they go about doing that? And then if they also want to learn more about Unbounce, how can they stay connected to everything that you guys are doing at Unbounce as well?
Yeah, absolutely. From an Unbounce perspective, you can always check out unbounce.com or our blog from there. We've got a ton of great content around conversion, around overlays, around landing pages, and how to optimize within that space. And I would really encourage people, if this is an area of interest, come to the Unbounce blog. There's tons of content around it. Also, we're on Twitter, LinkedIn, the usual places. And we've got an event coming up as well on March 16th. If you're a digital agency, we've got a digital agency day, which is really focused on providing insight around conversion to digital agencies.
I love it. Awesome. Well, Jeremy, again, thank you so much for your time. This has been incredibly valuable, so I really appreciate it.
Fantastic. Thanks for having me on.
If you're a B2B marketer, we want to feature you on sites like Huffington Post, Social Media Examiner, and Chief Marketer. Every week, we send out a question related to B2B marketing. We use the responses to those questions to fuel the content we write for really popular websites. So head over to sweetfishmedia.com/questions and sign up today.
Thank you so much for listening. Until next time.